Ashcroft hates me. One day I woke up and discovered I had married the wrong person. It was the day after 9/11. Surely I thought we'd have nothing to fear, that we would weather the coming storm. You know, there are times when you are just so wrong about absolutely everything. And I was wrong. We would feel betrayed over and over and over again. My Moroccan husband, a recently minted Arab American, was born on the 4th of July, which apparently didn't really count for much after 9/12. Most people thought he was joking. Some asked if he hated the United States. Well, actually, no, I don't hate the United States, he'd say. I do hate its foreign policy. And there would be an icy, spreading silence. Someone said, hey, listen, be a good American and shut him up before something happens to him. On television, in conversations, terrorist and Arab are becoming synonymous. Every day becomes 9/12. Neighbors are encouraged to keep an eye out for suspicious behavior. 9/12 I put on Mozart. A neighbor says, you know what, your wife has some damn nerve putting on that Muslim stuff. It's not Arabic, he says. It's Latin. And it's the requiem for the dead. He closes the window and says sadly, you know, I don't know when we're going to really be able to listen to our music again. And, you know, also, we're going to have to be kind of careful when we call the family. Thanks to the Patriot Act, our overseas calls in Arabic get recorded. Our conversations trip the surveillance mechanism. In the coming months, we will learn what it means to watch your words, to unperform who you are. There comes a moment when we are afraid to cook the Moroccan food we so love. Afraid of the spices, unknown to our mostly white North Park neighborhood. We'll create problems with our neighbors, some of whom are getting into their ex-military status extra good. At the conservative local news station where I work, the reporters are working on the story the alleged hijackers lived in San Diego. When I hand the morning anchor a pronunciation sheet to help him with the Arabic names he's mangling on air, he casually tosses it. And, how do you know this? Someone half whispers. Her husband's an Arab or something. Move the syllables around and it could be someone else's name in San Diego. Someone else some hopped up patriot might try to beat the shit out of. My husband's name means servant of the Almighty. He wants to change it to Bill. The U.S. Attorney is planning camps for Americans classified as enemy aliens, stripping them of their rights and plunging them into indefinite internment. Suddenly I am drop-kicked back 60 years to Executive Order 9066, the order that removed the Japanese and the Japanese Americans from their homes and lives and stuck them in some God-forsaken place to live out the war, surrounded by broken dreams and unbroken barbed wire. And so, apparently, I have the wrong family history. My Italian grandparents, too, were classified as enemy aliens, but they were lucky. They got to stay on their farms. Their Japanese neighbors did not. Before they left, the neighbor asked my grandfather to put their things in his barn because their house might get looted during their absence. Their American son never did get to be valedictorian. When they returned, everything they owned was still in that barn. In gratitude, they gave my grandfather a table, the same table my family has eaten around all my life. And now we may be about to become major players in internment, the sequel. The U.S. invades Afghanistan. My husband starts to drink more than normal. At work, in the neighborhood, there's talk of the enemy. Co-workers think nuking the entire Middle East would be a great idea. They're not joking. This is the new normal. It's unnerving when you look at the mirror and realize they're talking about you. Every day is 9/12, and we are constant orange alert, nationally and personally. The skin I'm in begins to crawl, and the U.S. invades Iraq. My husband has the first of what will be several breakdowns. Over and over and over again, I have to edit video of people who look like my friends and family, getting blown to bits, rousted by U.S. soldiers, bundled into trucks to be tortured somewhere else. The talk of quarantining Arab and Muslim Americans gets louder. The president speaks about how they hate us, and they hate our freedoms. You're either with us or against us, he says. My husband thinks people are watching him. He progressively gets more paranoid. Dead Iraqis haunt his dreams. The repudiation of his new country haunts his days. And I become hypervigilant, listening between the lines, worrying about how this might go down. Canada looks good, but Mexico is closer. We invade Iraq. I am frisked for the first time in my life at an American airport. I am not a happy citizen. And so, I acquire the wrong attitude. I get frisked every time I travel. Every time. Random? It's usually me, the hippie backpacker, and some brown guy. I talk back. In a private room? Are you kidding? Frisk me in public, I snarl, so they can see my public tax dollars at work. Sometimes I barely make my plane, but I don't really care. I am now a member of a growing, bitter club. Random my ass. A poll shows that up to 44% of Americans fear and dislike Islam and Muslims. I already dislike and fear my government. When the images of Abu Ghraib start to come out, the sports reporters think they're funny. I feel sick, because I know it's coming. My husband has another breakdown. He talks to himself, Wallah, in Arabic. Local activists are intimidated. Arab and Muslim men are called up by Homeland Security here in San Diego and disappeared into black ops sites in New York. I'm living in an Americanized version of Argentina, circa 1980, when the government disappeared 30,000 people. And I start to think about what my grandfather did for his neighbors, and so I am not quiet. I am not the good citizen. At work, I'm a subversive editor. I make sure footage of terrified Iraqi children makes it into the war reports. When I remind one producer that it's our obligation to show what happens to civilians, he calls me un-American. You know what? My great-uncle did not immigrate to this country, fight in World War I, and get gassed for you to talk to me like that. My husband has one more final breakdown and files for divorce. On our 10th wedding anniversary, I'm alone at the airport. The ticket counter agent loudly and happily announces I am on the no-fly list. I look around. People are listening. And they're taking a step back. And you know what? Screw it. I will not cower. I will not be shamed into submission. What have I got to lose? I suppress the urge to strangle this manicured monster on the other side of the counter. To scream at her, God damn it, bitch! What do you mean I'm on some fucking no-fly list? I struggle to keep a civil tongue. I look the agent straight in the eye. Really? And would you mind telling me exactly why I'm on the no-fly list and who put me there? Nope, she says cheerfully. I'm afraid I can't tell you that. Well, I say, then find me someone who can. Miss Ticket Counter goes to the back to talk to someone, and it turns out there's been a mistake. I'm lucky, I found out later. Thousands of people, even the late Senator Ted Kennedy, are put on the no-fly list. Nobody knows by whom or why. No one will ever know because it's classified. I remember my grandfather and that table. And I remember that in the years of living dangerously in a democracy in a coma, you have the obligation to speak up for those who cannot. I may reside in a rogue nation, but I don't have to take it lying down. In my suitcase now travels the following: 1 5x7 card, text. This travel container has been carefully curated for your viewing pleasure. Each item has been meticulously chosen and arranged for maximum interest. We thank you for your participation and hope you have enjoyed the experience. Please let us know if there is anything we can do to improve, enhance, or heighten this interaction for you. See reverse of this sign for the comments section. And the form would be always left slightly askew. I start freelancing for the Progressive Press. I write about a dead soldier's father who carries medicine to Iraq, about Latinos on the border who must add photos of their dead soldier girls and boys to the altars on Dia de los Muertos. My stories go international. I quit my job. And I put into practice the lessons I have learned from sitting at my grandfather's table. 70 years after my grandparents were declared enemies of the state and their neighbors sent to internment camps, 10 years after democracy was bullied into a coma, I, their American granddaughter, have risen up like a lion, and I can sit at my grandfather's table, redeemed. Thank you.